Hey, everybody. I'm so glad that everyone is tuning in and listening today. And we were just chit chatting, a dear friend of mine, Cheri Fletcher, and we had to just pause, pray, and just click record as so often we do. I shared with her, this is actually the most nervous I've been to interview somebody yet. And I've been on podcasts hundreds of times. I interview clients all day for a living. But once you hear a little bit about her story and we get into the topic that we're talking about today, I think you're going to get it. And you're just going to fall in love with my friend Cheri, not because of who she is or not even because of what she stands for, but you're going to fall in love with her heart and you're going to fall in love with her story and her love for the Lord. She has taught me so much already that she doesn't even know about, that I've not had time to share with her recently. I'm glad you're here on the Overshare today.
Well, I just love being with you again. I loved having you on my podcast when I was podcasting. So I'm just honored to be with you, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. You were kind of a dream guest of mine. And so with that, I knew early on I did want to tackle the topic of grief. And I am really thankful. I remember in the back of my mind, I have this written framework of the podcast and wanting to talk about grief and thinking, I would love if she was ready to do that. So thank you for it. And it's just a God thing, reaching out and saying, I want to talk about this. And so thank you. And so with that being said, I just think that your story, I want you to tell us why you're here and tell us a little bit about what brings you to talk about grief today.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure when this will air, but as we're talking today, it's the 2.5-year mark of losing our daughter, Annie Lauren. She was 29 years old. We lost her in August of 2023 to colorectal cancer. And we actually didn't know that she had colorectal cancer till after she passed away. Yes, it was a whirlwind, crazy, crazy story. She was hiking with us in July of 2023 and couldn't finish she did finish the hike, but it was a long process. She was coughing and couldn't catch her breath, and we couldn't figure out what was wrong. At 29, singer-songwriter in Nashville, busy girl, had all the things going on, didn't have time to get regular with doctors and whatnot. But on that hike, I was able to spend a lot of time with her because I stayed back with her while the others went on, and we had long talks. And I just said, it's time to start taking care of your health and figure out what this cough is. And so she agreed. When she got back to Nashville, she would look into that. But before she could do that, she called me on the phone on August 11 and said, Mom, I'm coughing up blood. And so we took her and I went to Vanderbilt ER, and that was August 11. At that time, they thought she might have pulmonary hypertension. On a Friday, they watched her for the weekend, but by Tuesday, she crashed. It was in ICU. By Wednesday, she was on ECMO, which is a very serious life support. They kept treating her for pulmonary tension, but her oxygen levels were so low, they couldn't do any kind of treatment. They couldn't intubate her or anything, or she would have passed away. So after a solid week of many, many tests and trying to figure out what was going on, they decided she would need a lung transplant. So they decided to do a full body scan for that. They did that on a Tuesday. Tuesday night, they came back and said, we found a mass on her ovary. So on Wednesday, they had to do a biopsy from the outside in. They did that Wednesday, but she passed away Thursday morning. It wasn't until we got the results, a few weeks later, that it was colorectal cancer that had metastasized to her ovary, got into her lungs or her bloodstream and filled her lungs. It was just a wild, crazy, fast cancer that they said even if they had found it they said it was probably there for about a little over a year. Even if they had found it, it would have been a poor diagnosis. It's a very rare form of that kind of cancer. So it was a very, very crazy 2-week whirlwind.
Yeah. Wow. Whew. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I am going to say things instead of saying I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I knew some of this story, but I didn't realize kind of the steps of events that occurred. And I did not realize that you didn't know her diagnosis until after she had passed away. Wow. What a journey. And what an unbelievably hard isn't even the right word here. What a devastating thing to go through. And as a mother, just unbelievably frustrating, helpless. I mean, in such a
Mhm,
short span of time, you've got a beautiful, healthy daughter that just her body just fell apart.
mhm.
And I mean, for what it's worth, and it might not be worth a lot, I am very sorry.
Oh, it's always worth a lot. Thank you. Appreciate
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
It's interesting. I actually heard about her passing from mutual friends of ours that are in Nashville, and I saw her picture and her last name, and I was like, my gosh, like, is that? And
Mhm.
putting it all together, it just, I think for so many people, but obviously most of all for her parents, just a surreal process. And again, I
Hmm.
want to take a moment and just say, again, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
It's such a, like you said, like a wild, crazy thing
Yeah,
for
it's
it
a
to be like,
whirlwind.
even if we had known, we couldn't have really
Mhm.
treated this.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And if you look for any kind when you're in this, you look for some kind of a blessing that, she didn't know or she didn't have all the year of suffering and going. I mean, she was just going, going, going. I mean, there were signs that she thought she was having cramps or having some issues, but again, 29 years old, you just kind of take an Advil and keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's almost impossible to get insurance to even pay for a scan at that point. I
Yeah,
mean,
at that
a
age.
29-year-old,
Mhm.
yeah, they're going to say,
This
oh, menstrual cramps or,
Yep.
you know,
Mhm.
work out a little bit more. And I mean, these symptoms are all honestly pretty normal until the hike. I mean, a lot of this is like, oh, well, yeah, I mean, normal. That
Mhm.
being said, and for for this to happen so quickly, it's yeah, just a situation and just a loss that's beyond anything that I can imagine. I've worked with people, a lot of people that have lost children. And, myself as a therapist, Sherry, like I'd like to
Mhm.
say that I know the right things to say. And we'll get into some of the amazing things that you have come up with out of this intense loss that have been helping people and they've been helping me. But even I don't know what to say, but I am willing to risk saying the wrong thing and
Yeah,
to sit and just be with someone in the worst moments of their life, whether if it's my personal life, my friends, family, or if it's with the people that I work with professionally, that willingness to be there and to risk
mhm.
saying the wrong thing is so much better than you not being there at all.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah, the silence is probably the hardest thing, and I understand that there are some people that our pain is very, very scary. We kinda talked about that a little bit before we hit record, that my husband and I were talking about that last night. We're the kind of people that are scary to approach. And the pain, when people say, I can't imagine what you're going through, they're actually imagining it. They
Hmm.
actually are imagining it. It's the pain that they can't fathom.
Hmm.
When they're imagining losing their own child, that's what they're saying when they say, I can't imagine what you're going through. You're imagining losing your own child, and it's that pain that you can't fathom. And so there's people that just cannot walk into our pain. And it sounds when you're not on my side of it to listen to that, like, oh, there are friends that haven't contacted us. You'd think, oh, that's terrible. But when you're on our side, you understand it. And you're like, you're not mad. You're not mad. You understand it's too much.
That's a good point. We can, in our brains, we can logically process through what that must be like, but we can't feel the pain or we're too resistant to try to
Mhm,
go there.
mhm.
It's too upsetting. It's too painful. The stomach churns. And yeah, I mean, I definitely would agree with that as I've walked through this loss with a lot of people I deeply, deeply care for. And just the silence is deafening and very painful. And risking saying the wrong thing is almost always better than pulling back. And you know that no one knows what to say. And the
Right.
beauty is, I don't, none of the mothers that I've known that have lost a child are expecting in your grief for someone to reach out on the 2.5-year anniversary of her passing and you're not expecting them to have the right words, are you?
Mm-mm. No, no. Before Annie passed, I've always been aggravated when people have told me to hang in there.
Hmm.
Even before she passed, when you're having a hard day and someone says, hang in there, you're like, well, how does that make me feel better? Like, is that supposed to make me feel encouraged that hang in there? Like I'm hanging and pretty soon I'm going to let go and fall. And maybe I think about it too literally, but hang in there, that's really not a encouraging phrase. But since she's passed away, I will stop people and say, you know what? I'm not hanging. I have so many people that are holding me right now. And God tells us in Isaiah that it's actually right here on my desk, Isaiah 41:10, that he holds us with his righteous right hand. And he says that all throughout the Bible. I am holding you. If you look for it, it's all throughout the Bible. I'm holding you with my right hand and I will strengthen you. And if you look for it, you will see so many people that have done little things that are holding you. And I have a beautiful friend that has texted me every day since Annie has passed with a Bible verse that she's read. And at the bottom of it, she'll just say held. Just let you know that you're held today. And it's very encouraging. That's all she needs to say is held. Sometimes she'll just text me the word held. And I just know she's thought of me and God's letting me know, hey, you're not alone. Easy.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. I mean, hate is the strong word. Hate the phrase hang in there because I have that same, either you're holding on for dear life and any moment it's going to snap, right? It's just
Mhm.
not a good phrase. And it feels, people don't mean dismissive, but it feels
No,
very dismissive. Like this
it's
is a
just
way
a
to end
thing we've
this
learned.
conversation because it's awkward. It's
Yeah.
like, how about like, I'm so sorry. That must be awful.
Yeah.
Would you like to share a memory or, like
Yeah.
just being able to say like what would be helpful for you right now, which of course, people in grief, they don't know. They
They
just
don't
want to
know.
know that somebody's willing to be there with them in their pain, even if it's
Mhm.
really, really uncomfortable. And it is. It's
It is.
terribly uncomfortable. It is. But
Mhm.
it's nothing compared to the loss of the discomfort that you have felt in these last 2.5 years and the discomfort that so many of your loved ones have felt. If we can hold you by feeling just a tiny, tiny fraction of that, that feels as the body of Christ really reasonable for us
Right.
to hold you and as much as we can shoulder just a little bit of it, excuse me, with you, Cheri. So
I agree. And as a griever, I think too that we need to be considerate of those that are willing to step into our grief. And I read a book called Try Softer. It's by Undie Kolber. Probably didn't say that right, but she calls it a dance. And she says, you can step into the moment, but you've got to be able to step out.
mm,
Go in and out and step in and step out. And I think one of the reasons people might be afraid to step in is how long am I going to have to be here? How long is this going to be? Is this going to be an hour of, uh, they don't know what they're coming into. And so as a griever, when someone's willing to maybe sit with you, be conscientious about that and realize, okay, they've stepped in, but then as the griever, you got to take the initiative to tell them it's okay now we can step out. And
mhm.
sometimes that can be share a little bit what you're going through, but be aware of this shouldn't be a long drawn out situation for this person because it was a lot for them to step in and now we're going to step out and let them know that that's okay.
Yes, what a great perspective of wanting to know kind of a start and an end point. And that's one of the interesting things just about therapy that is believed to be so therapeutic about therapy is there is a start and an end point. And while there's not a start and an end point to mourning
No.
and grief, there can be a start and an end point to this is how long we're going to stay in this emotional
Right.
actual topic.
Right.
And there's going to be a time where we talk about, your favorite memory that made you
Yeah.
laugh. And
Yeah,
sometimes a griever really wants to hear how you're doing too, because not
absolutely.
in a please don't talk about like, one time how your pet passed away, which is not a small deal. It's a huge deal. It's not the same. It's not the same.
Right.
And so just being able to say like, we have to very softly with a griever let them take the lead and not be offended when they tell us what they need. And they might
Yeah,
need space, they might need more or less. And I've not read that book, but I have heard about it. I do need to check that out for sure.
that's good.
For sure. And so, you know, this happens. You lose your daughter. We know where she is, but we've lost Annie. And with that, you find weeks after her passing about the colorectal cancer.
Yeah.
What was that like for you? What was that like for your husband?
You know, the first year for us anyway was just shock upon shock upon shock. Just you're trying to deal with. Well, my son got married 3 months after she passed, and so we were working on a wedding on top of all this. But my husband has Crohn's disease, so immediately he's like, "Is this my fault? Did I do this? Is this my gene?" And we have all done genetic testing. We have 2 boys, and at first they thought maybe it was like a Lynch syndrome, and so far they have found no link. This was something that they said was just something that just happened. But of course, as humans, we're like, where did this come from? How did this happen? The doctors have continually assured us that this, so far has not been linked to a family situation. And so that has brought some comfort. But of course, you're trying to go through all the medical records and trying to figure this out. We have, been able to kind of slow that down and stop that. But at first, you're just trying to figure out, did we miss something? What was her diet like? Should we have done this? Should we have forced her to go to a doctor? We should have, all the what ifs, should haves, all of that stuff that you go through as a parent. But I think after the genetic testing and after the continued consultations with the doctor, Vanderbilt, the doctor that saw her in Vanderbilt was amazing. And, he has even talked to us a year on the 1 year and the 2 year, just checking in and just confirming that, there was really nothing that we could have done. Just has been helpful.
It makes sense. The human mind wants to go and figure out why. Like we want to figure
Mhm.
out what caused this. Maybe not in your situation, but like how can I prevent this for other people or for my boys or we want to know why when something this awful happens. And
Mhm.
I could definitely use a different word if that would be better for you, but hard just doesn't seem accurate here. This isn't, a hard job. This is losing your child to cancer. And so you guys get answers, but obviously it was a full year of probably gathering information, working through it,
Mhm.
accepting, tying up loose ends. That year, some psychologists like estimate that that whole year is mourning in this kind of a tragic loss.
Yep.
So I wonder what do you have a lot of memories of that
Mm-mm.
first year?
Mm-mm. The sad thing is I do, we had 2 memorial services for her, one in Nashville where she was living for several years, and then we lived in Seattle for 30 years before moving to Tennessee. And so we had a memorial at her hometown church in Seattle, and I don't really have a whole lot of memories of those. I'm lucky that I do have very good, fun memories of my son's wedding weekend. I know the Lord really, really came through. And though we had the wedding here in Tennessee, there was about 75 people that came from our home state for that wedding. And that just really, I know the Lord just really has kept those memories very close. But for anybody listening that has a single adult child, that there needs to be a trustee or somebody that's appointed to get this taken care of before something tragic might happen. They don't like to think about that. And we hadn't thought about that, but it took me, I had to get, a lawyer. I had to uh, have it go into court that I become the owner of her accounts and all the stuff that she had her name on. I had to become the owner of, and that took a long time, took a year and a half. And it was just a lot of work and paperwork and anything that came up, and as she was a singer-songwriter, so to get ownership of her music and to get anything she'd put her name on, and I'd find this out, and then I'd have to go write letters and get another legal copy. So all of that stuff, you're just in auto drive, and you're just constantly doing the next thing. And really, the first year is a kind of a fight or flight. It's a blur. And then the second year, your reality just kind of slaps you in the face. Like the fog kind of lifts, and you get to really see, your reality.
I know I worked with a mother years ago that lost one of her daughters in a very tragic auto accident. And I know for her, I had the great privilege and honor to work with her from 2 days after her finding out to 2 years later. And she will say, and many of my clients have said that they don't remember, and they don't
Mm-mm.
remember so many of the things. They don't remember. It's all a blur is what I
Hmm.
hear again and again. And I mean, it's a lot of that is just the trauma. Sometimes that is an odd way of, I feel like, our brain protecting us from
Yeah.
ourselves. It's a common thing that I hear.
And I'm learning so much about our nervous system, even now, just, the grief brain fog and just how my body is not the same. And I don't think it ever will be, just the way I respond and react and get tired real quickly and forget things. I was at dinner with a girlfriend the other night, and she probably thinks I was the rudest person ever because a young girl walked in that looked just like Annie. I mean, just liked her. And I just I don't remember what my friend was saying to me. I just could do nothing but stare at that girl, and immediately your heart's racing and your stomach feels sick, and you don't know what to do, and you're staring at that person going, what if that was Annie? What was my life before? And you're going into your life before and your life after, and and you're trying to be aware of your friend talking, but your brain is just not there anymore. And so
Mhm.
it's just it's a different before and after life.
Most definitely. Yeah, and I mean, what a trigger to send you into, I mean, that's a pretty big spiral that most people would be sent to. Somebody that really resembled your daughter, they're right
Hmm.
there. I mean, that
Hmm.
that has to be, and the brain plays tricks on us in those moments too, where it's like we forget for a millisecond that they're not with us anymore.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, that's a powerful example. And I know hard in the moment because you can't process it enough to tell your friend what's going on. Like it's
Yeah.
just, it's happening. And there's a part of our brain that completely shuts off in those moments. And
Right.
so,
Oh yeah.
exactly to your point of what you're talking about with your nervous system, yes, yes, it's
Yeah. I wrote a word down. I wrote down pain dash full. I am pain full. And so I've reached my limit. And so there's just times in my life when I have maxed out. I have enough pain in my life, and anything trying to come in, anything added, anything coming at me that might try to add to my pain, I don't have any any room. And so sometimes I feel that way when someone's talking to me, and all of a sudden I've just hit my limit. I'm like, well, I'm full. I I don't mean to check out. I'm trying not to check out, but I have nothing left. And it's your brain. It's just I don't understand it, but it's grief. I've heard it's called grief brain.
and you don't choose it. Like it's emotional energy is finite in itself,
Yeah.
but when you've gone through this loss in particular, it's not up to you when your brain
Right.
is at its capacity. And sometimes it's biological, maybe even some spiritual factors, all of them at the same time, but you just know when it's there. And it's kind of
Yeah.
like having a code word with the people close to you, kind of saying, "Hey, red light, green light. I'm at my
Yeah.
limit. I care about you, but almost like I can't care about this conversation." And
Right.
that's and it literally you can't. It's
Right.
there's not a choice in it for you.
And yes. And before Annie passed, my ministry was, and it still is, all about the different roles that we have in life. My tagline was, and it still is, the roles in life, your roles in life will change, but your purpose is eternal. Whatever role I'm learning, whatever role I had, even within my family of origin, that's changed, but people kind of expect you to resume that role again. It's kind of like, well, it's been 2.5 years, so the old Cheri should be back. And the old Cheri used to be very helpful as far as solving problems, you know, planning the next event. People used to come to me with issues and, hey, what would you do about this? What would you do about that? But this Cheri, I don't have that. And so what has been helpful is for people to say, hey, I have a question, or I have something I'd love for you to help me with. Are you available to do that right now? Or is there a better time? Because there might be a day when, you know, my boys and my husband are my first priority, and maybe they're having a bad day and I don't have the bandwidth for someone else's issues. Whereas before, I didn't have that. My sons are married, things are going along well, but I could have helped you, but now I can't. And people just assume the old Cheri, could do that, but they don't know the new Cheri. So my roles have changed. I'm now living out my ministry. Yeah, it's
Yes,
different.
and it definitely does. It's I hate to put it like a metaphor, like an injury, like losing a limb. But,
Yeah.
when you lose a limb and you used to be great at helping friends move, you're just not that go-to anymore. Not that you
Mm-mm.
can't help in other ways,
Right.
but you've lost that part of you. You're still you. But still there's no way that you don't change from an absolute, like, biological level with an event
Absolutely.
like this that occurs when it comes to how you can help people. And how beautiful it is that, Cheri, you are still helping people. You are I mean, of course, nobody bounces back from this. Nobody moves
Mm,
on from this. But you have continued to grow and find ways to love people around you in your ministry. And yes, your role has changed quite a bit and your
mhm.
capacities have changed. But the fact that you recognize that and you're working with it and you're just kind of like, I feel like I've watched you like let God do with it as you're like, okay, I don't have this limb anymore.
Yeah.
It's really, forgive the term, it's beautiful.
Mhm. Thank
It's
you.
so beautiful and it's painful and it's, heartbreaking. And I'll try to not cry during this interview. I can't, no promises, but it is really beautiful to watch the beauty for ashes that really does occur, even in life's absolute worst moments. That
Yeah.
even though those roles have changed, that
Yeah.
you are still working for the great and mighty purpose of the God that we love and serve.
Absolutely. I'm too stubborn. And, a friend of ours asked if I would sing at Annie's service in Washington. Annie and I used to be in an Easter production together. And there was an amazing quartet that would sing. And at the end of the quartet, Annie would roll away the stone on the grave. And I wanted that quartet to sing. And they said, well, we'll sing our song if you sing yours. I was like, oh, yeah, no, right? No, I'm not singing at my daughter's service. But then pretty soon I thought, oh, wait a minute. Oh, the enemy doesn't get the last word. That doesn't happen. And so I did it. And I just kind of, when I was singing in my mind, I was just like, this is to show the enemy, like he doesn't win. He knows he doesn't win. He just wants to take as many people down with him. And that doesn't mean that I don't have terrible days, and that doesn't mean that singing made it all better. It just means that I get to tell people that the enemy doesn't win. We know that the enemy hates praise. He hates it as much as he can. So I hate the enemy. So, and praising doesn't mean if you see me praising, it doesn't mean I'm not having a bad day. It just means that when I praise, it's like sticking it in the enemy's eye, right? Which is what I want to do.
Mm.
So
I don't think I've ever heard anybody say anything like that before. That like
I'm trying to be kosher.
oh no, but no, I love that of just saying, like, you made this choice no matter how painful it was, because
Yeah.
the enemy hates praise,
Yeah.
to sing the song, to roll the stone, to shine a light
Yeah.
on
On
the
him.
resurrection.
Shine the light on the resurrection and shine it on the enemy because he hates light.
He
He
does.
hates it.
He does.
And
He loves
so,
to cover things up. Yes.
yes. And if he can silence us, then he wins. And like I said, I'm too stubborn. But don't mistake my writing and my coming on here today as saying that it doesn't hurt terribly. It does.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I'm just using it in a different way, I guess.
I know nothing ever makes it better. I know that time can help. I know that the only thing that heals grief is love, and I believe it firmly. I take great comfort in the fact that you will be with her again and that
Hmm.
she's not in any pain.
Right.
But I know none of that makes the pain go away. Like, I know those truths. I know you know those truths.
Hmm.
Yeah, you feel
Well,
free to speak to that.
a friend of mine who's a pastor, asked, what is one thing that gives you comfort? And I just said that she's safe.
Mm.
As a parent, like, that's what we pray. And the Bible verse in the Bible app the day after she passed away was Isaiah 51:7, that, the righteous die young, and the Lord is, protecting them from evil to come. And I don't know. We pray every day, deliver us from evil. It's part of the Lord's prayer. Protect our children from evil. So God said I did. I don't know. I think everything about this world in the sin that we're living in is because Satan wasn't satisfied, right? He wasn't satisfied in his role in life. He wasn't satisfied. He wanted to be God. And the verse that that was read at Annie's service in Washington was Psalm 17:15, that says, "When I awake, I will see his face and I will be satisfied." And I think so many people believe, and I could be wrong, but that when they get to heaven, we're going to be in a line waiting for answers. God's going to give us all the answers. But it doesn't say that. It says, when I awake, I'll see his face and I'll be satisfied. And we can't understand that because our brains don't understand satisfaction. And to be fully satisfied isn't something we just don't understand. But when we get to heaven, we're going to see the face of Jesus and we're just going to go, oh. And everything about this horrible world and the death of our loved ones and everything, I'm going to go, okay. And that's just going to be. And so I just find some comfort in that. That's what I have.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. It's so true. My Bible study today, we were talking about one of my girls that comes was asking questions about heaven. She was like, will I be with, my husband, and will it, and I was kind of, as well as I can, I'm no theologian, but I've spent my life studying scripture, and we were talking about, it's not like the movies or like people talk about. Our brains can't comprehend, but we do know it's so much better and sweeter than anything we can possibly imagine. I love that verse. I love that verse. And to know that we will all be together, but yes, it may not be like in the line and in the receiving line, kind of, it's not going to look like that because it's going to be so much better than anything our little ant brains can come up with. And yeah, no, I really do appreciate that. And what a powerful truth to share at one of her services. I forgot about that verse. I have to look that up again. And to know the comfort that just seeing his face is going to bring a relief that we have not experienced on this side of eternity. We don't know what it's like to be without our humanity and be without sin and struggle. We don't know what that's like. But to
Mm-mm.
close our eyes and to wake up and there's an absence of pain ever being there is wild.
Yeah,
And as just a human who's been through a lot and different kinds of journeys myself, not through what you've been through, I find a lot of comfort in that. And what a healthy way and a beautiful way that God has just come in and just reminded you of just truth. And
yes.
yeah, and I know it doesn't make it all better, but it seems like it really helps.
It does help on days. And, it's just one day at a time. It's just, and today was a Bible verse in Isaiah like 61 that talks about, I think it's 61:3, that talks about beauty from ashes. So
Oh,
relevant that you said that.
that's really cool. Yes, it's one
Mhm.
of my favorite sections of scripture, just reminding us that no matter how much we feel like it's meaningless or that the hurt was for nothing or that the story that we went through or the reputation, the person we lost, the body part we lost, whatever the
Mhm.
loss is, the marriage we lost, that
Right.
God is still capable of using all for his glory. Obviously, that's not something I'd recommend ever saying to somebody that was in active stages of grief because, often people aren't ready to hear that. But when they are ready to hear it, join alongside them
Mhm.
and hold them through it as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, oh, what an amazing story. And I thank you for sharing it. I really have enjoyed just like I, for a long time, have loved listening to her voice and have
Thank
long
you.
time, been able to listen to her songs. And she's just, I never got to meet her, but she made quite an impact on me. And I'm thankful for her. And I'm thankful
Thank
for her
you.
story and for your story as well. I don't know. And I never pretend. I mean, it's not my place to ever discern God's will, but I am thankful for you and I'm thankful for her. So, one of the many things that has come out of this major life change, major life event has been you boldly dealing with something that I've never seen someone do. I'm honest, I have never seen someone do as good of a job as you've done.
Oh,
As
thank you.
a psychologist, as a counselor who I've sat on this couch behind me with I think over 100 mothers who have just buried their children. And I love these cards and it's beyond I don't know what to say. And it's these beautiful cards that are question cards for those walking through someone they love through grief. I don't want to say a cheat sheet because I feel like social media and there was a famous article that came out. I can't remember which publication of like what not to say to somebody
Yeah.
going through awful grief. And it was like 11 things like, somebody that lost a child, don't just tell them, well, you lost a cat once, not we love our animals, not the same, not the same.
Right.
And no amount of grief is just the same. And pretending that we totally get it when someone is in active mourning is usually not a good idea in general. But as going through these cards and thinking about the 100 mothers I've worked with, minimum, I've kind of lost count at this point. I did pick out some absolute favorites, and I can't recommend these enough. I know that there's a lot of ministry leaders. I know a lot of counselors that listen that we need these in our toolbox. We really do. And I wanted to, I didn't tell you I was going to do this. I wanted to ask you
Yeah.
some of my favorites, and I wanted to know if that would be okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. What is a memory of Annie that makes you laugh?
Oh, lots of them, because she had an iconic laugh. In fact, many people that share stories of her, it's always about her laugh. It was well known. One time when we were at the beach in Washington, um, I chipped the front of my tooth, and it was hilarious. And she wanted to use it on her social medias, but she used a filter from Snapchat that made our face look really weird. And of course, it made our voices sound. And she's like, show us my mother lost her tooth. And so she puts it over on my face and I smile and I have this chipped tooth and her laugh is just so loud and we're just dying laughing. And she would just also, she was a social worker. She had her master's in social work and as a singer-songwriter, but that was her nighttime, pushing that part, but then her day job was her social work. And to break tension, if there was a moment of tension, in social work in a nursing home, she'd be silly and she would just start dancing. Or she would just that was her way of breaking the ice, was just to do something silly or to do a jig or to sing a song. She would make up a song about anything. So sometimes if she couldn't make a resident happy, she'd sing about it and make them laugh. So just silly things like that.
That might be one of my favorite things ever. Also, that's genius, but that she, like in her personality, but in her discernment is like, you know what? If I start singing somebody's name to Old MacDonald and I just start singing ridiculous stuff about what's going on, they are going to laugh. And I love like that she was goofy and willing to like look silly. Even at her work, I just love that so much. That's a really sweet memory. I love that one so much. Thank you for sharing that. So, and again, these are her cards that I'm just reading, and I didn't tell Cheri I was going to ask her some of my favorites. It was hard to narrow them down, and I know I won't be able to ask you all of them today. But to give you guys a little bit of an idea, because I want people to know what to say when they don't know what to say. I want people to know that this is out there and we're going to tell you exactly how to get a hold of it so that you're not in this place.
Well, that's kind of how they were born. Was I would start writing down questions people did ask me that I appreciated being asked. And I had just a Word document with questions. If someone asked me those questions, I'd put them on there. And I thought these are really very fun to answer. And we were going to go somewhere for our 1-year anniversary. as we call them. And I have boys. And if anyone has boys, you know, it's like to talk, right? Like, how has it been 1 year without your sister? And we didn't want to make it a heavy weekend. We didn't want it to be you know, just sit and be sad the whole
Mhm.
weekend. Plus, both boys are newlyweds. So I didn't want their new brides to be like, oh man, I just got married and their sister passed away and we're going to get together for this weekend. And I told them we were going to do a little bit of reflection. I hadn't thought about how yet. So I knew they were all like, "Oh, what does that mean?" Because
Mhm.
mom's a curriculum writer. So are we going to have to sit down and have lesson plans? Like, what's this mean? So I just thought one day, I'm going to take these questions because I looked for communication cards because they have them, but they don't have them on grief. And so I took mine and I took it to Staples and put them on index cards and I just had them on the table. And they were just on the table. And anytime we'd sit down, we'd pull a card and we'd answer it. But each person answered it different. So you're all learning something different about Annie. And my boys were like, this is better because they're not being, it just kind of made it a little bit easier for them. And sometimes I'd see the boys, sitting somewhere by themselves, looking through the cards themselves
Hmm.
and being reflective. And so that's kind of how they started. And pretty soon people were like, well, I want those cards. And I thought, well, they're just index cards. And so, yeah. So they're not just for people that want to talk to us, but they're
Mhm.
also for people that maybe are going to get together for a reunion or a
Mhm.
holiday. And it's just an easy way to bring up the elephant in the room. Or if you're like you're going to interview someone's grieving or go visit someone for coffee, take a couple cards and start a conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And especially a lot of families will have, you know, get togethers on the anniversaries of loss. And okay, well, what do we talk about that's not just totally a downer? Because, some of it
Yeah.
needs to be grieving together, but sometimes we need to talk about that one time that we went on this trip and it was so funny. That one time that mom chipped her tooth and
Yeah.
Annie just had to put it on social media with a
Yep.
filter and laugh and have that iconic laugh. Those are the things that truly do start to foster some sort of a healing.
Hmm.
And I love that thought of one of your boys, like, out there kind of, like, flipping through them
Hmm.
themselves, and there's just so much value in that. I didn't realize that's exactly how they were birthed, but
Hmm.
how it makes so much sense, and I love from the family's counseling side of things that I have this to use as a tool now to be able to recommend to families is they're like, "Well, we don't want." I have a lot of families that, like, the first Christmas, they'll take a trip instead of being
Yeah.
at home, and I think
Yeah.
that's a great idea. But to be able to send these along and say, "Well, this is kind of a really nice framework if we're
Hmm.
afraid," because none of us wanna be the bad guy bringing up a hard topic, but it's kinda nice to draw these and go from
Hmm.
there. I like it.
Yeah.
That's
They just
really
sit out on my coffee table.
love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And then you having the memories of how people answer them too. That's really I
Yes,
hadn't
because
thought about
everyone answers them different. You get to hear a new story. Because one of the questions is there a secret that you can tell now that's safe to tell? So those are fun.
oh, yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, if she were here today, what would she be
Mhm.
doing? That's another card I love.
Yeah, that little gritty girl, she hadn't told us because she wanted to surprise us. Actually, she had resigned from the nursing home and had gone full time into photography and running different singers, their social media. And was working for a photographer, and he was actually helping her get set up to do her own photography business for singer-songwriters, as well as her own music, which we produced one of her songs in July of 2025. And she had resigned from that photographer, and her last day was going to be Friday, the Friday after she passed away. So she
Hmm.
passed away on a Thursday. Her last day for that photographer was going to be Friday, and she got her business license in the mail the Monday after she passed away. She would have been self-employed. She would have been running social medias for different businesses and also a photographer for different singer-songwriters and running their social medias as well. So she had told us, I'm going to be self-employed. I'm going to be running this stuff on my own. She had just wanted to surprise us. So if she were here today, I'm sure she would be doing all that stuff and just having all her camera gear around her neck and just loving life.
And if you don't mind me
Yeah.
saying, I hear mom a little bit on that too. I hear a little bit of like, Annie had a little bit of her mom in her, which makes me so happy. That is
Thank
such a
you.
sweet, sweet memory. All right, a hard one. but I'd love to ask this one. In this season, how do you find yourself missing her? And what
Mm,
special memory or qualities do you cherish most about her?
yeah. Oh, that's like every day, right? I think she would just be so proud of her brothers. We lived in Seattle for 30 years, never thought we would live out this way. Annie told us at age 12 she was going to live in Nashville, and she came out here on her own. And we didn't know we were going to live out here, but God moved us out here in 2020. And I know he moved us out here so that we could spend the last 3 years of Annie's life with her. And then her youngest brother just moved out here a year ago. That would have just made her so happy to know that all of us were out here now. And I miss her a lot because her cousins are having babies, her brothers are married, her friends are having babies, and her friends are beautiful. They include me. They call me Mama Fletch. They do as much as they can to keep me in the loop, and it warms my heart and it breaks my heart. And there are days when I just, would love to know what her kids would have looked like or plan her wedding, which, she was my only daughter. So that's just something I will not get to do. Those are the things I miss throughout the day. And, one day I did hear God say, I miss her too. And I know, when we think about, our loved ones in heaven, I don't think we give God's character enough kudos to know that he misses our loved ones being with us. He
Mm,
misses them here laughing with us. He misses who he created Annie to be. He misses her influence in this world. He misses her light in this world too. And he is right here with us. He's with the brokenhearted.
hmm. Oh, wow. Wow. I love that we serve a God that showed up at Lazarus's
Mm-hmm.
tomb. He knew that
Yeah.
Lazarus was coming back. He wept because he was grieving with them. He
Mm-hmm.
knew he didn't
Mm-hmm.
need to cry. He's
And he
God.
didn't
He
tell
knew.
them not to. He didn't say, "Hey, wait a minute, you guys, don't cry, don't cry. Don't worry about it." He didn't even he stopped and he felt all of that weight. And it was so heavy that he wept. He didn't cry, he wept. And he weeps with us. He misses our loved ones too.
Mm. It's nice to not. I mean, and there's definitely moments like maybe even today, it feels very lonely. I know, very quiet, but the joy and I don't know, the feeling I get when you said that of, I don't know, my heart just leapt for joy of just thinking like, thank you, God, for being a God that you're missing her too. And
Mhm.
we're not alone in this and missing her. Okay. Well, Cheri, thank you so much I feel like I've put you through a marathon today and
Thank you
hopefully
for
it's been a
having
little bit
me.
more of a sprint, but thank you for sharing about Annie and her legacy. And I just, honestly, for people to, and I will be linking her music and some of her
Thank you.
photography and some of the things about her that are just, and again, I never had the privilege to meet her, but I feel like her heart and I love that her legacy is still changing hearts and will continue to change hearts long after you and I are gone.
Yeah,
And the legacy that is and the legacy that these cards are. And what you've got here with my friend is you've got a really faithful server of Jesus. And I would like to think that I could do the same. And you know what? I'll say I would because I think that that's God's will for all of us.
absolutely.
Just love you deeply. I love
Thank
Annie, and
you.
I'm just thankful for you today and sharing something that's really hard. Tell people, I know I'll link it all in the show notes. Tell people
Yeah.
where they can find the cards, where they can find out
Yeah.
about, because she leads a grief group that is, it's nothing like anything I've ever heard about before. Tell people a little bit about that so that people know next steps after they're going through a substantial
Yeah.
loss.
Absolutely. Well, Cheri Fletcher, and that's CHERI. CheriFletcher.com is where everything is at, the grief cards. And I just started a private grief group. The noise, when you're grieving, the noise of the internet's just, it's too much. Social media, it's too much for me personally, anyway. There's a lot of great grief resources on social media, but a grief group that's just off of social media. And that information is on my website as well. It's called Now What? And if you subscribe to my emails, you'll get a lot of information about how to join that group. But it is a private group for women who have lost a loved one or the life that they once knew. Grief doesn't just come around when you've lost a loved one. It comes around when you've lost a lifestyle, maybe to a disease or something that happened that was out of your control, and now the life that you once knew is gone. And so now what? It's the question we all ask ourselves, right? My podcast was called Your Spiritual Game Plan. I'm a strategizer. And so I want to take people from now what to what's next, and just have some strategies on when those emotional ambushes hit, when the holidays are coming up, when things are happening. And we talk about that in our grief group, where it's a safe place, where we're not out there trying to get followers and scroll trolls and be influencers. We're just there to be together and be real and be safe. We're not bombarded with politics and advertisements and all that stuff.
Amen.
So all that, that stuff is all on my website, and also I talk about it in my newsletters.
Yeah. Okay.
So thank you for asking.
I'm excited that you're doing all of this work. It's something that is really needed. And I think that, the memes or the articles and all the well-meaning, that can be absolutely too much. And sometimes we just need a private, small community. And I love that you're offering that, and that, it's just a new way for us to get on this grief frontier. And again, I love what you're saying, that people that are also grieving the life that they might have lost, the dream that didn't come true. I mean, I think that there's a lot here. Grief is so not linear, and it looks different for every single person that you meet. Grief just, even I can't predict if I'm walking through somebody losing a loved one, and it's expected. I, as a counselor, have not been able to predict how they're going to grieve, even if I know the person really well. Right. And so with that, we can't predict these things. And so what we can do is we know that the love is what is truly healing. And I love that you're offering that, and that's something that's God led you to do on this journey.
Thank you.
Cheri, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you wish somebody would even say to you on a day like today?
Well, I've been lucky, and I did get my text from my friend that said, "You're held." So that was awesome. But, the word hope means assurance. It's something that we can count on, and it's not a wish. And so our hope in Jesus, it's assured. And so he goes before us, and he has been there, and he continues to be there. He hems us in. Psalms 139:5, I think. He hems us in. He's holding us. He's surrounding us. He's walked before us. If you look back on your grief journey and you start looking back at all the ways he's gone before you, putting people in events and place that you've now are relying on, then you can have assurance, not a wish, but an assurance that he is continuing to go before you now. And so I just pray that whatever grief journey you're on, just knowing that God has gone before you, and he's holding you. You're not hanging in there, and he's continuing to go before you to make that journey, to pave that path. So just stay on it.
Thank you, Cheri. All right, I've promised every podcast that I will pray over the men and women listening. And Cheri and I right now are going to bow our heads. I never know what I'm going to pray, but I'm just going to pray for everyone listening today. All right, let's pray. Great and mighty God, Lord, thank you for today. I thank you so much for my friend Cheri. I thank you for her heart and her desire to seek and follow you. And Father, we specifically thank you for Annie. We thank you for her heart, the life that she led, and the joy that she brought this earth, and the joy and the legacy that she continues to bring. God, I lift up everyone who clicked on this podcast today. A lot of men, a lot of women that are feeling just deep loss and deep grief, or maybe even in the stages of early mourning from a loss. Father, I pray that you would give them the peace that truly surpasses all understanding today. God, that you would help them know that hope is, Lord, it's not a wish. It's something that is steadfast, and it is there, and that they can have hope in you, even if you have to hold the hope for them. Father, I'm thankful that even in the hardest moments, that you are there, that you don't forget us, that you have a plan to prosper and not to harm, even if it doesn't feel like it, God. Father, go before every person that's listening today. Give them wisdom. And God, I'm so thankful that your word says again and again that anytime we ask for wisdom, that you will give it. So Father, we ask for that as well. We ask for these words to reach the ends of the earth, even if that's 5 women. Lord, I'm with that too. Lord, keep us safe, hemmed in, and in your will. And we continue to pray that we would be your mouthpiece in this life that you've given us. We ask all these things in the mighty name of your Son. Amen.